What's up, y'all? Young James coming at you. Here we are. I'm still in America. I was just playing some basketball out here at the courts by myself. It's a beautiful day. Quite warm today. 90 or so degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful day though. Today I got a message from an Instagram follower, a gentleman named Aiden. And actually this is a topic that quite a few people have been asking me about. I've talked about it here and there on my channel. Part-time jobs in Japan. What I would recommend for a foreigner coming to Japan. Maybe you don't speak the language yet, maybe you speak a little bit of Japanese, maybe you want to use your part-time job as a vehicle to improve your Japanese. I think a lot of foreigners fantasize and they romanticize the idea of working at a convenience store in Japan. In general, they just romanticize the convenience stores in Japan as well. The convenience stores in Japan are great, very convenient, of course it's in the name, konbini. If you're one of those foreigners that always calls 7-Eleven, Lawson, whatever you call it, konbini every time. Konbini is the Japanese form of an English word, convenience store. And they just call it konbini. Man, if you're a foreigner, just call it convenience store, call it 7-Eleven, call it Lawson, call it Family Mart, all right? Something that annoys me. Also when foreigners say famima instead of Family Mart. If you're speaking in English, I want you to say Family Mart. Or just say you're going to the convenience store, say you're going to the 7-Eleven, whatever. Don't be saying, hey, yeah, you want to go to the Famima? And they wouldn't even say it like Famima. They'll just say Famima? You want to go to the Famima, get some Fammy chicken, bro? Man, shut up. And you know what? If you don't speak like pretty decent Japanese, you have even less of a right to say that. If you speak Japanese, all right. If you're a foreigner and you speak some Japanese, and you're like, Famima ikanai? Okay, all right, fair enough, because it's, you know, you're speaking Japanese. But if you're just like, hey, man, want to go to the Famima? It's like, bro, shut up, man. Anyways, he asked if I would recommend working in a convenience store. I can't say I've never worked in a convenience store. I have a few friends who have worked in convenience stores, Japanese and foreigners, and I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard that it sucks, it's terrible. I think it mostly depends on the people that work there. In general, work culture in Japan sucks because of Japanese culture. Japanese culture is wonderful. It's a great place. Obviously, Japan is an incredible place to visit and to live. But the reason that it's such an incredible place to visit and to live is because it takes a lot of work to uphold a society where everyone is following the rules. Everyone's doing everything right the whole time. Everything works in Japan because people fix things in Japan all the time. People take care of their shit. There's a hierarchy system. Like, that's the reason why Japan is so nice. It's because people work so hard to keep it so nice. So if you're living there and you're part of society, you have to work so hard to keep it like that. Anyways, getting to the point here, the work culture in Japan, it really follows a hierarchy system. So if you have bosses or if you have just senpai, people, I don't even know the English word for it. Like people who work with you and they're on your same level. It's not like they're your boss or anything, but they've just been there longer. This is crazy. Do we have a word for it in English? I know if the opposite, kohai, is subordinate, like the person that works with you but is beneath you, and you kind of boss them around. Anyways, it's really normal for people to like boss around the person who's beneath them or lower than them. And it's also really normal to kiss ass, like to completely kiss ass to the person who's above you. So generally, the work culture in Japan, whether it be working a part-time job or a full-time job, kinda sucks. But working in a convenience store, I've heard mixed reviews, sounds pretty boring. I've looked at the wages are usually super low, like 1,100 yen, 1,200 yen. If you work the overnight shift, of course you can get more money. Usually the overnight shift will be like 1,500, 1,600, something like that. Which still in the grand scheme of things, like if you're coming from the US, it's gonna seem like nothing because that's like $10 USD. And that sucks ass, and that's even like below minimum wage in most states in the US. So I wouldn't recommend working at a convenience store. However, if your Japanese isn't great, but you speak a little bit of Japanese, I believe you could get a job at a convenience store. Most people working in convenience stores in Japan that I've seen, at least around the Tokyo area, are foreigners, similar to the US, where most seem to be like from India, Pakistan, some people from like Vietnam maybe. And there are some Japanese here and there that you'll see working at convenience stores as well, but I don't think it's the ideal job by any means. I'm gonna go through a couple different jobs that I've had while I've been living in Japan. I've been there for 3 years now. I've worked technically 3 different jobs. I've done like the modeling thing as well. I did voice acting for a little bit. I did some acting as well, but like legit part-time jobs which, by the way, guys, I've never worked a full-time job in Japan. For the love of God, everybody asking me like what my working visa is, or like what's the company I work for that got me working visa. Shut up, I say this every video, and people still ask me like, what company did you get to sponsor your visa? It's not a company, I'm a student. I'm on a student visa. When I first got to Japan, I realized after like 3 weeks that, dude, I need to work as soon as possible because I want to have fun while I'm here and I want to stay as long as possible. So I got straight to working, dude. Before I got there, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna work. I might just stay there for a year only, and maybe I won't need extra money. We'll see. And then once I got there, I realized this is awesome. I want to stay in Japan for longer, so I need to work. And so about 3 weeks into living in Japan, I had basic Japanese. I'm talking N4 level. I passed the N4 test, which isn't really much at all. It's enough to like talk about the weather, talk about like what food you like, what sports you like, introduce yourself, and that's really it. Like not have real conversations. So I didn't want to work at a place where I was required to speak Japanese. So I looked on Craigslist, guys, Craigslist Japan, and I searched like English speaking jobs, part-time jobs in Japan. It's a great, Craigslist Japan, Craigslist Tokyo is a great source for finding English speaking jobs for English speakers. I think most Japanese people don't even know about Craigslist anyways. So I looked on there and I found an advertisement for a international school. They needed like an afternoon supervisor for the kids at an international school. And an international school is basically the same as an elementary school or something, but they're teaching in English and Japanese, or maybe it'll be only English or whatever, different languages to kids. And so anyways, I got hired, and for 1 year I worked as the after school program like helper kind of, from like 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. where I was just working with, it was pretty much all Japanese kids. Occasionally there would be a foreign kid or whatever, but we taught in English, and we're not like teaching the kids English. Most of the kids speak English already, but I'm basically like a supervisor of like an after school program. We learn some things. We do like short little lessons that you can teach to kids. Like I'm not a certified teacher or anything like that. And then we play games and we read stories and stuff like that. And it was a great time. I did that 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. It basically from like 2 p.m. when their real school ended until their parents picked them up, whenever that was, until 6 p.m. I would be entertaining the kids, reading them stories, teaching them things, whatever. And then I more or less got promoted after that, and they transferred me to the elementary school where I was working with kids from the ages of like 6 to 11. The first school was kids literally age one until 6. So I was changing diapers and like putting them to nap time and all of stuff, like a bunch of stuff like that. Then I got promoted more or less, went to the elementary school, and then I was like not full-time, but I was like an official teacher at the elementary school, and we were doing more like hands-on lessons. We were building things together, doing science experiments, whatever, all in English, mostly Japanese kids again. And that was for the same hours, 20 hours a week, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, until the parents would pick them up. And I really loved that. I enjoyed that so much. It was a great experience. And the reason why it was so great, at least compared to other jobs that I've had in Japan, is because it was a foreign company. It was owned by Europeans, and pretty much everyone that I worked with was European. Not that like I would hate working with Japanese people or anything, but at least for having like my bosses, like the way Japanese kind of run the hierarchy system, there wasn't any of that. It was a foreign school, so it was really great. All my coworkers were awesome for the most part. Everyone was super cool. I loved working with the kids. It was an incredible job. I wasn't required to speak Japanese, but by the time I was like a year in, I worked there for 2 whole years. By the time I was like a year in, I spoke pretty decent Japanese, and I would say most of the foreign teachers there didn't speak Japanese like at all. And I spoke pretty decent Japanese at that point, so it kind of gave me a leg up even when the Japanese kids, like when their parents came to pick them up, a lot of the times they would say like they want to talk to me, or they had told me before they feel extra safe or at ease when they saw that I was there, because if there was ever an issue, they could just talk to me and I could have a conversation with them in Japanese. And that was really nice. And then a bunch of the parents there really liked me, and we kind of like keep in touch here and there on the low kind of, but I had a great time there. Really, it was an incredible job. The only reason that I quit was because for school, I entered into college, as you guys may know, after 2 years, and then my college was completely so far away from that job, so I had to quit. And then also I thought I wanted to use my Japanese in the workplace to get to the next level. I want to work in a Japanese speaking environment. So I quit that place and I made my Japanese, what do you call it? Rirekisho. What's the word in English? Resume on Indeed, japanindeed.com. And then basically you can set like all of your, if you guys have ever used Indeed before in the States, I've never used it in the States, but I used it in Japan. You can set up like your search engine or whatever to like, for all your requirements, like how much you want to get paid, how many days a week you want to work, like with what area do you want to work, like where in Tokyo, is it something related to food service, customer service, whatever, and then you search for jobs and you can just apply to like whatever you want through there. And so anyways, I just applied to a few jobs there based on decent pay, GQ hourly salary or hourly wage, GQ. And I found a place that was paying me, I don't know if I can say, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not telling you like, I guess exactly where it was or anything, but I found a place that was paying me like 1,400 yen per hour, which is pretty decent. That's like, I don't know, about $10 an hour, but it's better than most jobs. Most jobs are around like 1,100, 1,200, and it wasn't far from my place. And it was a ramen restaurant, so it was like a very serious ramen restaurant where like there are little signs that say like don't look at your phone while you're eating, don't talk while you're eating, like basically get in, get out. Very Japanese environment. I was the only foreigner working there. I was the only foreigner I think that had ever worked there. And anyways, I applied through Indeed, and the next day like I just get a call and they were like, hey, how good is your Japanese? They just asked me. For anybody wondering if they asked about like my JLPT certification, I did have a JLPT N2 certification and I brought that up in the interview, but they didn't even know what that was. And also at my other job where I was also speaking Japanese, they didn't even know what the JLPT even was, even though I brought it up. And they just wanted to like hear that I could speak Japanese, so I just had a little conversation with them, and I made sure to use Sonkeigo, which is like very respectful Japanese or honorific Japanese. And yeah, they liked me, I guess. I just had like a short like 10-minute interview, and then I started working right after that, and it was super casual in terms of like they didn't give me like a whole training process. I didn't have to like watch a bunch of videos, fill out a bunch of forms or anything like that. It was kind of like a small hole-in-the-wall ramen restaurant. So I basically got there, and like day one I just started, and I was washing dishes for the first little bit, and it was just a very, very serious environment, not fun at all. I'm literally at a bar. Like the ramen restaurant is just like a hole in the wall, and it's a bar where there's like 15 seats, and it's just you standing behind the counter giving bowls of ramen to people, and you're not allowed to talk with your coworkers during that time. Like the boss would every single day, he'd be like, guys, remember, no personal conversations, no conversations while you're working. So if you guys have ever been to a ramen restaurant in Japan where you're just sitting at the bar like that, you'll notice that the people behind the counter are just very serious. They're not talking or anything. The only thing they're saying is like, "Irashaimase, omatase shimashita, ramen desu, zarudon desu." What else? "Tsukemen desu, omatase shimashita." Whatever. Like that's all they say. They don't talk between themselves. They're not joking around or anything like that. So it kind of sucks because I was doing that for like 6 hours a day, like multiple days a week, and you weren't allowed to talk to anyone, and like you just do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And then my boss was like really weird, and I'm not gonna get into the whole story. I had one manager that was really cool, and he fingered my butthole. I have a couple videos about that, and he was super cool. But yeah, like my boss was really weird. He was like fucking me around on the schedule. He said I could work this many hours a week, but then he changed it, and then when I brought it up to him, he like ignored me, and then he got angry that I questioned him about it. I wasn't even trying to be rude, and then he wouldn't even talk to me at work, and I tried to talk to him. He literally ignored me and like walked past me a bunch of times, and it was just really weird. And the boss was super standoffish, and like the owner, or not the owner, but like the store manager or whatever, Tencho. And it ended up sucking ass. Like a couple of my coworkers were cool, the rest of them were really, really weird. And if I made a mistake, they wouldn't tell me what I did wrong. They would just like get really quiet and then like be weird to me, and then I have to like ask around, and then like the cool coworker would tell me what I did, and I'm like, this is so inefficient and so stupid. Why didn't they just tell me what I did wrong? And I remember it was really uncomfortable environment, and the boss, like the store manager, kept taking more and more hours off of my schedule, even though like I was a great worker and I was doing everything right. After the first couple of days, I was locked in. I was serving bowls of ramen left and right. I was talking to customers, telling people where to line up, where to stand, where to sit, everything. I was doing everything great. And the guy just like kept giving me less and less hours. Not because I did anything wrong, but he kept giving me less and less hours because like there was enough people working there, and I think he promised more hours than he could actually give me when I signed up for the interview. I think he was just desperate for someone to fill this one spot, and then I was like, can you guarantee me like 20 hours a week? And he was like, yeah, we can do that. And then he kept giving me like 12 hours a week. And anyways, it sucked and it was weird. And then I messaged the boss when I was going to quit. I realized I wasn't getting enough hours, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I really appreciate the opportunity, sent this whole long message about how thankful I was that he gave me this opportunity, but it's just not working out with my schedule. I needed more hours and he wasn't giving them to me. And I remember all he said back was, on your last day, turn in your uniform. That's all he said back. And I was like, wow, fuck this guy. And then I was really happy to get out of there. And then I spent like a week or two in between that job looking for another job. And I went back onto Indeed, looked around, and I found another job that was paying me like $14.50. I think it was $14.50 yen per hour, which is pretty decent for a part-time job in Japan. Pretty fucking decent. And I could make my own schedule. It was badass. Like, whatever you wanted your schedule to be, every half month you would make it and then you submit it to the boss. And pretty much every single time, like, there are enough people that work there. There are a whole bunch of different people, and like college students who only wanted to work like once a week. So he always made it work. Like, however many hours a week you wanted to work, when you wanted to work, he would let you do it. And it was pretty badass. My coworkers are super cool. This is the job that I talked about multiple times, and I was just working in a restaurant. It was like Japanese, Italian style fusion restaurant. I was working in the kitchen. I was working on the grill mostly, and occasionally I would go out onto the floor like when it was really busy, and I would like pick up plates and ask people if they wanted refills on drinks, or ask people like I didn't talk to the customers much, but occasionally I did. And then like whatever they would ask me, like, "Toire wa doko desu ka?" And I'd be like, このドア出ていただいて右に曲がってまっすぐちょっとまっすぐ行ったら左側にございます. I would have to use Sonkeigo and shit like that, but it went pretty well, and my Japanese got so much better the whole time I was working there. And I worked there for like 6 months or something, maybe a little bit more than that. And I had a great experience. I loved my coworkers. I became super cool, great friends with my coworkers. Once again, at that job, I was the only foreigner working there. The only foreigner that had ever worked there, I think. And they liked me a lot. They were sending me around to like other stores when they were short-staffed. And when you go to another store, you get paid like time and a half or something like that. So I was going around to other stores and helping them out. And the people at the other stores really liked me as well. I made like a cool little network of friends there. And actually with those friends, they were all Japanese guys. We became like super, super close. And we started like a running club together. We started working out together. We started hanging out all the time. I did multiple videos where I talked about like the experiences I had with those guys. We went on an onsen trip over the winter. We went to Kusatsu. Kusatsu is just like an onsen town. I went with those guys and we stayed in ryokan, which is like a Japanese traditional inn. And I'm still like really, really good friends with those coworkers to this day. That job was awesome. My boss was super cool. The reason I quit, I've talked about this in multiple videos, is because like basically this like erai hito, this like great person came from Honsha, which is like the headquarters, to like come to our store, and he was working in there every day. And he like, I don't know if he was racist or what, but he hated me. I've told the story before. He like hated me for no fucking reason, and like he basically said I was retarded to my face. And then I quit. And I told my boss I'm gonna quit if you let that guy talk to me like that. And my boss was like, sorry, I'll do my best or whatever. And then the guy like basically piped up to me again, and I was like, all right, well, I quit, sorry bro. And I got out of there. And then, long story short, my Japanese coworkers were all like looking at me like, man, like what's wrong with you? Why did you quit? Like, that's normal in Japan for you're somebody who's that high above you, like coming from the headquarters, to like kind of talk down to you like that. Like, I know it sucks, but that's just kind of like how we do it here or whatever, kind of. And I was like, no, like fuck that, that's ridiculous. I'm not gonna let anybody talk to me like that. And you guys, I mean, I don't care what you guys do, but I don't think you should let people talk to you like that either. It's unhealthy, it's a bad mindset. Just it's not how you should live. It's not how you should live. And I told them that. And long story short, a couple months later, a couple of those Japanese friends also quit, and they told me that kind of like the things that I told to them made sense, and that they agreed, and they were like, yeah, we're not gonna let this guy talk to us like that anymore. And they quit as well. So that was kind of the ending of that story. And that was a few months ago that I quit that job, and I haven't worked like a job since. I've just been doing like the modeling. Obviously I've been doing the YouTube shit. Yeah, the way that I got hooked up with a modeling agency, I've probably told this story before, but I was on Bumble, like looking to date and shit like that, and some girl was like, you have a great look, I really like your look. I'm a modeling, like I work for a modeling agency, I would be interested in interviewing you if you came to my jimusho, my office, and we'll talk to you, and maybe we can like set up a thing where you're like a talent for our agency or whatever. And I was like, yeah, like I'll do it. And I went there, they liked me. They liked that I had like singing experience and acting or whatever shit like that. So then I've been doing like random jobs for them here and there, some modeling, some, I did, like I said, I did voice acting, I did acting, I was in a movie, I was in a commercial. I just got a job for another movie actually, And it sucks because they said they didn't know when they were going to film it. And then while I was in America, they told me like, oh, we're actually going to start filming here in June. And I'm like, fuck, I'm in America. Can you wait? And they're like, no. But I did get the job. I was pretty stoked about that. They liked my casting, my audition or whatever. So anyways, those are the 3 jobs, or 3 or 4. I don't know how many jobs I listed that I worked in Japan since I've been there. If you guys are wondering, if you're a foreigner and you're wondering, is it worth it to work in a Japanese environment? I would say I wouldn't do it again, but I would highly recommend it to anyone going to Japan for a few reasons. It is incredible for your Japanese language learning experience. Your Japanese will level up like this if you're working in Japanese, guys. It's like a sink or swim environment. And I know that's scary to people. Of course, it's scary to me too, but there's no better way to learn than completely immersing yourself, drowning, and then learning to swim. Almost drowning, and then learning to swim. And then number 2, also, just for the cultural knowledge, the experience, understanding Japan, why Japan is the way it is, how Japan works the way it does. I would recommend working in a Japanese workplace as well for that reason. So I can't say what the best job is. I would definitely say, like, long term, working in a foreign company in Japan would be the best option. They're probably going to pay you more. Yeah, at the foreign company, I was getting paid way more than I was getting paid at the Japanese companies, by the way, as well. They're probably going to pay you more. It's going to be better working conditions. People will be more understanding of you. Long term, yes. However, I would recommend going through it at least once, working in the Japanese workplace. It's definitely worth it. Get out of your comfort zone, make some Japanese friends. It sucks, but it's worth it. And maybe it doesn't always suck, because I liked that restaurant job for quite a while. It was good until it wasn't good. We'll say that. That's my experience working in Japan part-time. I've never worked full-time in Japan, so I can't really say anything about that. But yeah, I don't know everything, guys. Sometimes people will message me and be like, hey, what's it like to work in a factory in Japan? What's it like to work construction in Japan? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm not going to talk. A lot of people on YouTube and on social media and wherever like to talk about everything just so they can boost their ego, so they can act like a know-it-all, so they can basically just jerk themselves off and smell their own farts. But I'm not really into that, actually. I'm not going to talk about shit that I don't know about. So regardless, guys, I'm here in Chicago. I'm heading back to Japan next week. Can't wait to see everyone back in Japan. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to play some more basketball before I head home here, and take care, y'all. If you guys want an Ultra Human ring, check out the description below. You guys can get 10% off, and I get that 10% also goes to your boy. Otherwise, just donate to the Ko-fi, and then you can join my Discord, whatever. All right, peace out, y'all.